I never imagined betrayal could feel like a physical blow, but there I stood, frozen in the doorway of my childhood home, heart racing, as my stepmother's words sliced through my dreams like shards of glass. My father had always promised me that my college fund was secure, that I could chase my dreams wherever they led. But now, as my stepmother smirked with satisfaction, I felt the ground beneath me crack and crumble. It began with little jabs, her comments about financial responsibility and how I should learn to fend for myself, each one cutting deeper than any slap ever could, making me question my worth. Looking back, the signs were all there. The way she'd casually drop hints about her own children's college expenses, planting seeds of doubt about whether I truly deserved the same. When I finally confronted her, I braced myself for anger, maybe even a denial, but what I got instead was a twisted laughter that chilled me to the bone, her eyes sparkling with malice as she said, "You really think you deserve this money, Dorothy?" Her words coiled around my heart like a vice, squeezing until I could barely breathe. I understood in that moment that this was far more than just money. It was a personal vendetta. One evening, after a dinner that felt like a battlefield, filled with her thinly veiled barbs, I overheard her whispering to my father, her voice laced with the venom of manipulation. Then came the thunderbolt of accusation. She claimed I'd been inappropriate with one of her sons, twisting our innocent interactions into something grotesque and unrecognizable, shattering my reality. The shock on my father's face was unmistakable. The trust I had always felt in him shattered like fragile glass, leaving me gasping as he turned away, his back to me, as if I were the enemy. I left my home that night, not knowing where to go, the weight of betrayal heavy on my shoulders, crashing at a friend's place, feeling like a ghost, invisible and lost. Every day became a battle. I felt like I was drowning in a turbulent sea of confusion and betrayal, my dreams of college slipping through my fingers like grains of sand. My grandparents called one afternoon, their voices filled with concern, and I poured out my heart, revealing the ugly truths I had kept hidden for too long. To my surprise, they believed me immediately, their unwavering faith a small beacon of light in the suffocating darkness that surrounded me. They confronted my father, their anger palpable, threatening to disinherit him if he didn't see the truth. A flicker of hope ignited in my chest, only to be snuffed out by a suffocating fear. Would he really listen? Or was I just a pawn in this cruel game orchestrated by my stepmother, a game I never wanted to be part of? Days turned into weeks, and I was consumed by an aching longing for my father's love, mixed with seething anger at his betrayal, a toxic cocktail that left me reeling and exhausted. When my father finally reached out, his voice trembled, heavy with regret, and I could hear the weight of his realization as he said, "I should have believed you, Dorothy." He unraveled the lies, the deceit, revealing the painful truth. My stepmother had been unfaithful, pregnant with another man's child, her betrayal cutting even deeper than I had imagined. My heart twisted with a mixture of relief and sorrow. I had longed for him to see the truth, but at what cost to our fragile bond? As the divorce proceedings began, a strange sense of justice bubbled within me. My stepmother's greed, her malice was being laid bare, yet the emotional scars she had left on my heart were still fresh and throbbing. She fought fiercely for her financial gain, but every accusation she hurled at me only made her case weaker, and I couldn't help but feel a quiet satisfaction as I watched her unravel. Yet every time I saw my father, a part of me remained terrified he'd turn away from me again. I hated that this fear lingered like a dark cloud over our fragile relationship. Nights turned into an endless loop of sleepless hours, replaying the moments of betrayal over and over, as if somehow, if I could change the narrative in my head, I could change the past. I began attending therapy, desperately hoping to untangle the mess of emotions inside me. It felt like trying to catch smoke with my bare hands, elusive and maddening. The therapist often probed about my relationship with my father, and I had to admit I felt lost, unsure how to bridge the chasm that had formed between us. Despite his apologies, the trust was so fragile. When he reached out for a hug, my body hesitated, caught in a battle between love and fear, like a taut string ready to snap. I cautiously began to rebuild my college plans, drafting applications again. But the anxiety gnawed at me, a whispering doubt that echoed, reminding me I wasn't good enough. One afternoon, as I sat with my grandparents, they shared their own stories of trust and betrayal, and in their wisdom, I found a connection that soothed my aching soul. Their words reminded me that healing is a journey, not a destination, and I began to nurture that flickering hope within me like a fragile flame. Every acceptance letter I received filled me with joy, yet it was always shadowed by doubt, a reminder of the recent past that still haunted me. Still, I clung fiercely to the belief that I could carve out a future, even if it was fraught with pain and memories of deceit that lingered like ghosts. As my father and I began spending more time together, we navigated our relationship like walking a tightrope, each moment a delicate dance of vulnerability and hesitation. I learned to voice my feelings, even when they felt jagged and raw, and he listened intently, his eyes reflecting both regret and a deep, abiding love. The road to reconciliation was rocky. Sometimes we stumbled into conversations that felt like landmines, and I would retreat into silence, overwhelmed by the weight of it all. Yet in those moments of tension, we also discovered laughter, glimmers of our old bond shining through the cracks like sunlight breaking through dark clouds. Eventually, we sat down together to discuss my college plans, my heart racing as I shared my dreams, and I could see the pride blooming in his eyes, a stark contrast to the disappointment I had felt before. For the first time in a long while, I believed in us again, the warmth of hope filling the spaces where betrayal had once festered. As I prepared to leave for university, I felt a bittersweet sense of closure. I was stepping into a new chapter, but the scars of the past were etched deeply into my heart. I glanced back at my father, who stood at the door, a mixture of hope and regret written across his features, and I knew we still had a long journey ahead of us. But as I drove away, a strange sense of peace enveloped me. I was finally taking control of my life, no longer a victim of someone else's lies and manipulations. The journey had irrevocably changed me, but I was learning that even in the aftermath of betrayal, there was a path forward, a path filled with the possibility of healing and renewed hope. Thank you for watching. For more real stories and powerful dramas, be sure to like, subscribe, and explore our I Wove You Too channel. If you enjoyed this video, please consider supporting us and transforming your love life with the Make Him Worship You program, linked in the description. It's a game changer for any woman seeking the love she truly deserves.